Skyborn, and welcome back to Active Player Network, where we are taking you on a three-part overview for Overlight, the new role-playing game setting from Renegade Game Studios. Today, I am here with my friend Helena Anderson, role-playing game enthusiast, and we are going to be getting into some character creation today. Helena, hello.
Hi! I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. We have played a lot of role-playing games together, and we've rolled a lot of characters and really, really enjoy that part of the process. So that is why I have selected you for this particular brand of torture. I mean fun.
All right.
So we want to start getting into filling out this character sheet.
It's a beautiful character sheet.
Right?
Like, it's just rainbow. Everything's rainbow.
It's because the overlight is separated into different colors that kind of shine down in a rainbow kaleidoscope, if you will, on top of the shards where all the different folk live. Now, each of the shards is known for a different virtue, and that virtue has several chroma or abilities that are associated with it. So we're actually going to be choosing abilities based on the colors that you see in the rainbow spectrum.
It's so cool.
I'm ready. We were really entranced by the idea of the Zenith Order monks and the Hamanu ape-like folk that live on the Zenith shard. Now, the cool thing about them is that you cannot actually select one of those folk to play without someone agreeing to be your spirit-bonded companion.
It's beautiful.
I'm shook. So we really, really wanted to choose that. So that's sort of an example of how do you consider a character concept, which is oftentimes part one. For me, it was the idea of being kind of a monk from like a snow oasis. Like that imagery really stuck with me. And then when I found out that you had to have like a companion and there was a mechanic to the game attached to that, that's when I was like, yo, Helena.
And I was like, yes, please.
You want to be my ape friend?
I don't want to be anything else but an ape friend.
Yeah. So not everyone really starts with a concept. I know you start a little bit differently.
Yeah, I usually pick a name that I'm really interested in, which is maybe a little strange, but then I will think of the name and be like, okay, what kind of creature, person, folk would have this name, and what would their life be?
I think if our names were connected, that would be kind of cool to emulate that.
But what does that look like?
We had them separately, but then together they might actually be a word.
Yeah. What is like a significant word to these people?
You have mountains, you have tundra, you have snow.
Ape X. Just kidding.
Let's look up like words for snow.
Nieve was the one I was thinking.
Nieve?
Yeah.
So one of us could be Nieve and the other could be Ve.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you have selected which folk you want to be, each folk has different backgrounds that you can choose from. I'm pretty sure that I want to go with the novice. It's kind of calling to me because I feel like you're feeling the natural bond mate.
Yes, I'm totally down with the natural bond mate, especially in connection with the novice. Yeah. Especially also because I feel like our characters have to be some sort of young, like young best friends.
Young bestie, scrappy types.
Yeah, the rascals.
Who are rascals.
The rascals.
Man, how did we come to be, though? That's really the question.
Yeah. I feel like, well, with the natural bond mate, that means that we've known each other before. We were bonded. So I feel like with our, because I keep saying rascal, we maybe like ran away or did something that we shouldn't have done.
Okay, so one thing that I knew that I absolutely didn't want to do was the backgrounds having to do with the super severe monastic traditions.
Yeah.
So what if my sort of familial tradition was to always go on to one of those places, and that I, leading up to my coming of age to do that, which I'm sure is very young.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I would say even I mean, some of these kids, I mean, when I think about like monks in China even, I mean, they're so
10
young.
years old.
So I would say, man, am I that young? That's really
we
interesting.
might be extremely young.
Yeah. I was like, oh, we're scrappy teens. I think I'm super young. Like, I think I might be like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to go with 12.
So.
Whew. I guess the next step is to pick our virtue.
Yeah, let's do core virtue time.
One of the things that helps determine what you should choose is this is kind of your drive in existence, your drive to wander away, and the term, again, wanderlust kind of comes to mind as a Skyborn. But the one thing that you can't choose on your sheet is that at the top there's one for spirit, and that's the one we described in the last video as being the embodiment of the soul. It is everything and nothing at once. It is not something that you can choose to drive your character or your chroma selection. You can choose from anything that is not the virtue associated with your shard. So we cannot pick the first one of wisdom. What are you thinking?
I have been thinking the compassion one would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Especially since I have this idea that my Hamanu has been living on the outskirts of some sort of village or town or something, preferably where you are. That there would be a certain compassion and groundedness to this character that can only exist in that kind of feeling of empathy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like compassion goes along with that.
So the green virtue is kind of what's calling out to you. So interestingly enough, what's pushing me to choose, I'm kind of between like will, vigor, and might, but I'm really leaning into will, because that is really like the drive of your intent, like an arrow into your choices.
Yeah.
And so the idea that I would come from this long lineage that chose differently, and then as a Skyborn I feel a part, and as a person I am driven to choose a different path. I really think that it's a good balance between us. Like, if I decide, someone who's super strong-willed can be misguided.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
So to have a Hamanu who is my spirit-bonded like companion who is very compassionate is a good push and pull, because I'm sure I probably push you to make choices and you pull me back from the brink of probably some pretty bad ones.
Yes. Yeah, no,
cool.
This is a good symbiosis.
And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is now that we've chosen this, and it's so cool because it really does dig right into the narrative right away, right? Mm-hmm. Is that this will determine what category we can select our free chroma from when we get to that point.
Yeah.
So everybody gets one, and ours will be determined by compassion and by will. We've taken our 45 character building points and used the table on page 80 of your rule book for Overlight to figure out exactly how we want to spend those. So we'll kind of tell you what we've done. As you're spending your character build points, one thing that we had to keep in mind was that they are cumulative. So you can't just find, I want to buy the highest one and then spend that price. First you have to buy the D6 version, then the D8, then the D10, and then the D12. So that is how pumping your virtue up to a D12 can result in spending almost half of your points like that. We did save some because we wanted to create a spirit pool, because that's what allows you to cast your chroma abilities, your spells, for lack of a better term. And so what we did was we managed to conjointly save enough for an 11-point spirit pool, because the cool thing about Hamanu and Zenith Order monks is that once they're bonded, they actually share a spirit pool. So if you're making a character that has to rely on their own, make sure you save some, because otherwise you're going to be like, wow, this chroma ability is really cool, but it's very risky to use it all the time. So make sure that you kind of take this time to build forward and backwards through the next couple of steps. That's kind of what happens. It's a little confusing, but I believe in you. You can do it. I really wanted to have a D12 for Will, because I am just leaning very hard into it, but that cost 20 points, so that's almost half of everything that I got to spend during character creation. So I put a D12 in my will. I spent a little bit more to put a D8 in my vigor, and then everything else is D6. as far as skills went, which cost a little less points, I would say. So I already got myself a D8 in Persuasion, and a D8 in Resolve is what I had from my background, so I started with that. Then I added a D8 in Athletics, and lastly, I put a D8 into my Brawl, so I can get down and dirty.
Nice. So, I also went full into the compassion. So
that
I have
sounds so lovely.
Full into the compassion. But I gave it a D12 because go hard or go home when it comes to compassion. It's great.
Lord knows the world could use it.
Seriously. And to balance this symbiotic relationship where there's no wisdom over here, I decided to take a D10 in wisdom.
I wish I could be mad about that, but there's not.
No.
I'm a real dumb punchin' persuader.
Yeah. And it works out because, like, I'm just chill, you know? And then all of my other virtue points were D6s. My skills are D8 in Folklore, D8 in Intuition, D6 in Beastways, which is like full-on druidry if you want, and then D6 in Inspiration, a D8 in Athletics, and a D6 in Survival, because I feel like that's going to come in handy.
Yeah, well, with friends like me, it definitely will. We just sped through a lot of different skills. You can find all the skill definitions on page 81 of your core rulebook. Now, the other thing that you have to do next is to generate your spirit pool. So we have a bond. We get to share our spirit pool. And after that, we have to generate our health track. On page 81, there's another table that you can follow. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your might rating all the way on the left-hand side, go down the column till you find the rating that you ended up with, either because that's what you were given through a background bonus or because you pumped it up with character building points, and then you'll scroll across to find your folk in that row, and then that's how many health track spaces you have to start out. So you as a Hamanu, what did you end up with?
Well, I did not pump up my might, so I kept it at a
Me
D6.
neither. We'll be fine.
It's all good. I mean, we're like 11, so like,
yeah.
Though Hamanu years, maybe they're different. We'll find out. And so if I go over here, there's a column that is just for the Hamanu, and that means if I'm at a D6, I get 11 health points.
So you would go ahead and mark that on your health track, and then I would do the same process. So again, I very smartly decided I don't care about might, and it's going to be fine because there are two of us, right? So I also am in the first row of D6. I go all the way to the other folk column and get a basic 10 health track points. So next up, we have to select our chroma power. And we did a little bit of looking through the book based on which core virtue we had selected. And do you want to tell them about yours first?
Yeah, totally. So I chose the chroma Exile of Hearts, which works for me because I've decided that I come from kind of a wilderness background. So this is the innate understanding of the connections between folk, humans, basically any part of nature, anything organic, and their connectedness to each other, and then through that knowledge being able to sever it. So, yeah, no, it's a little freaky. It's, for example, if there was a fight happening and somebody's coming at me and my ability to sever that connectedness between us would make them feel extremely alienated and unable to find the will to keep going.
Whew.
Which is a little freaky, and it's very painful and apparently madness inducing, which could be interesting and terrifying.
That'll stay with you.
Yeah.
Best of luck with that.
Thanks.
So for me, I have decided to really lean in to my force of will and choose an ability that really executes on the amount of character building points that I put into my willpower. Yeah. And so what I did was I chose the Figment of Self ability, which is a will plus will check. So why not? Why not? Live your quest life. What happens with Figment of Self is that you are able to channel your force of character, I guess, into an entity that is outside of yourself and create this sort of golden moat of light, and you can send that out from you to perform different abilities. Now, at the base level, at a luminous level, it can kind of peek around corners and become a second pair of eyes for you. At the next level, radiant, you can beef it up to perform small tasks for you.
Oh.
Is pretty freaking cool.
And a little creepy.
Yeah.
But really cool.
It's my little sun. A little sunbeam.
Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Those are our free chroma that we get. If we wanted to spend more on different types of chroma abilities, we could. They cost 5 points, and even though we're sharing a spirit pool, we were a little bit short because we just want to be good at everything, and I don't think that's a crime. So we're going to start out with our free chroma and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, we're creative. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Thank you, Helena, for coming and for building these characters. I can't wait to be Niev and Vey. Like, I really just can't wait for it. We'll keep you updated. So let us know if you have your finalized character concept at this point with your preferred folk and background and just like a couple of sentences. Mm-hmm. We want to know about all of the fantastic Skyborn that are rising to the cause in Overlight. You can find us on Twitter at ActivePlayerNet, on Instagram at ActivePlayerNetwork, on Facebook at ActivePlayerNetwork, and of course on YouTube at ActivePlayerNetwork. Come find us, come play with us. And tune in next time as we dive head first into talking about how to roll skill encounters in Overlight. We'll see you then.